My name is Peter Andrews, and I am the Director of Programs and Chief of Staff at the World Sustainable Hospitality Alliance. And we've got a fantastic webinar today to focus in on double materiality. And we've got an exciting panel of speakers, and I will introduce them to you very shortly. As always with our meetings, we ask attendees to post questions into the chat box, highlighting the opportunity, and any questions will be dealt with after the presentation. So we have 3 different presentations that we will be going through from our esteemed panel. The objective of this webinar is to really highlight the importance of double materiality assessment and how everyone can identify relevant sustainability issues for your business and align with key external reporting requirements such as EU Taxonomy and CSRD. So the topics we'll be focusing in on are introduction to double materiality, understanding the financial and environmental materiality elements, the frameworks and regulations. So how does double materiality assessment tie into the CRD, EU Taxonomy and ESRS standards? The practical steps that you can take of how to conduct a thorough double materiality assessment, including that stakeholder engagement, which is critical, and identifying the key risks and opportunities. And our speakers will bring some of the insights that they've been uncovering from their experiences that they've been working with many different businesses on, particularly the likes of Because and PMI Go Green and the insights that have been coming out of that from the customer stories that are really going to be useful for all of you to better understand this challenge. So I'm delighted that we have 3 panelists with us today. We have Alina, who's the Chief Sustainability Officer at Because. We have Armand, who is the Senior Lecturer for Research at the Research Centre for Future-Proof Financials. And we also have Lucas, who is the Quality and Safety Manager at Postillion Hotels. All 3 bring a fantastic background of many years working in industry and on challenging topics such as these. I would like to, without further ado, then turn to Alina to present, first of all, from Because' point of view.
Thank you, Peter. Let me just share the screen. Do you see it now? All good?
Yes, we see it.
Awesome. So thank you so much, first of all, WSHA and Peter, for hosting us in collaboration with our 2 wonderful speakers today. And as you said, without further ado, let's jump in and have a dissection of the topic today, which is mastering double materiality, setting the foundation for sustainable success. Really looking forward to the discussions also and the questions that will come afterwards. And again, thank you so much for Hotel Management School of Maastricht, Armand, and Postillion, who is also our customer, for participating in this discussion. But okay, let's dive into what double materiality really is. So double materiality is a key tool in sustainability management. It identifies and prioritizes environmental, social, and governance issues that are significant not only to the company stakeholders, but also to its long-term financial success. What sets it apart from the usual materiality analysis? So what does the double bring to the table? So unlike traditional materiality assessment, it examines 2 dimensions. First dimension is, push the button too fast, how sustainability issues impact a company's financial performance. And then the second is how the company's operations impact the environment and society. Why it matters? The importance of double materiality analysis is underscored in the European Union's commitment to transparency and accountability. And it aligns with the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, otherwise known as the CSRD. Who needs to do it? It's all the EU-based companies. This includes large companies, listed SMEs, that are required to perform under the CSRD, and as well as non-EU companies that from outside the EU nevertheless have significant operations within the region will also have to do the double materiality analysis. And I think it's super important to note during the times of this regulatory uncertainty that besides what the omnibus legislation and potential future changes might bring in the regulatory landscape, it doesn't change the fundamental necessity of performing double materiality analysis. It's a must-do for businesses operating within the EU, whatever comes in the future. But let's look a little more in detail into what the double stands for within the concept of the DMA. There are 4 important considerations that I would like to mention here today. So the first one is the financial impact consideration. Double materiality looks at how sustainability issues can influence a company's financial performance. For example, climate change could impact supply chain, leading to disruptions or costs, while regulatory changes might affect operations and profitability of the organization. The financial dimension helps businesses also understand the risks, like increasing operational costs or cost saving through sustainable practices. Second consideration is the social impact consideration. It evaluates how its actions affect communities, employees, and its customers. This could include everything from labor practices to community engagement and also product safety. Social considerations likewise ensure companies are aware of their role in promoting fairness, diversity, and social welfare, and addressing both reputational risks of the company and the potential positive social change that the company can create through its business operations. Third, environmental effects evaluation. In this dimension, double materiality considers how a company's activities impact the environment, such as carbon emissions creations, resource depletion, or waste generation. Companies must assess both their direct environmental footprints, such as energy consumption, and indirect, such as supply chain emissions, and to identify risks such as environmental regulation and opportunities like reducing waste and improving efficiency. And fourth, last but not least, stakeholder engagement importance. Stakeholder engagement is critical in understanding what both external and internal parties value. This process ensures companies are aligned with the concerns and priorities of their stakeholders, such as investors, consumers, communities, regarding the sustainability matters and the sustainability strategy that the company might take. So in conclusion, double materiality is an integrated approach that allows companies to assess both the impact of sustainability issues on their financial health and how they, in return, influence the environment and society. Here we see what the companies gain once the assessment is complete. First, they establish a risk and opportunity profile, which helps companies identify both potential risks and opportunities that could impact their financial performance. Specifically, risk identification focuses on sustainability-related risks, while opportunity identification highlights areas where the company can create value and extra value in terms of potentially reducing costs or gaining a competitive edge by meeting evolving consumer preferences for example, green products or services. Second win is creating a prioritized list of topics, which are then ranked according to their importance and potential impact on the business and external stakeholders. This helps companies focus on the most critical sustainability challenges, ensuring that they address issues that really matter and that can really impact the company's bottom line and meet stakeholder expectations. It's a guiding tool at the end of the day for the most important strategic decisions. Third win, stakeholder engagement, which provides valuable feedback on the expectations and concerns of stakeholders, as aforementioned, investors, customers, employees, and communities. Understanding these views allow companies to align their actions with what is most important to their audience, foster trust, transparency, and a stronger social license to operate. It can also help companies anticipate market shifts, positioning them ahead of their competitors. And ultimately, fourth win is a personalized materiality matrix, which is ultimately a mapping of categorized sustainability issues, which puts it in different quadrants based on significance and urgency as well. The matrix helps companies quickly identify which issues require immediate attention versus which can be prioritized in the longer term. And now, without further ado, I would like to give a word to Armand, who is senior lecturer researcher and knows exactly what methodologies should be used in order to conduct the DMA. So, Armand, the stage is yours.
Yes, thank you, Alina. So this is me. Hello, I'm Oderkerken, senior lecturer and research fellow at the Hotel Management School in Maastricht, and currently a candidate in the professional doctorate program at the Zuid University of Applied Sciences. And my research focuses on how we can implement sustainable growth strategies in the hotel industry, not just to meet regulations, but to create value for businesses, people, and planet. And today I would like to explain why a double materiality analysis is so important for developing future-proof strategies for your companies. Or to put it in another way, how mastering double materiality can help set the foundation for long-term sustainability success. And to do this, we will first briefly highlight the role of the DMA within the broader goals of the European Green Deal. And then I will explain some of the key models and frameworks that support or connect to double materiality. And finally, I will zoom in to a set of practical steps that organizations need to take, especially from a value creation perspective. And these steps are not just formalities, they are essential for embedding sustainability into core business strategy. And they link closely to how your company moves forward in this process. As part of the European Green Deal, the European Union has introduced several important mechanisms to support industries in reaching sustainability goals. And one of the key developments is the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or CSRD. And this directive encourages organizations not only develop sustainable growth strategies, but also to manage and report on their progress in a transparent way. On the financial side, we see the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, which aims to guide capital flows towards green initiatives by encouraging financial institutions to disclose how sustainable their investments truly are. And to support both businesses and investors, the EU Taxonomy provides a shared understanding of what can be considered a sustainable activity or investment, helping align strategy with action. And now, more recently, there has been a proposal for an alternative framework known as Omnibus, which could have a significant impact on the direction of sustainability reporting in Europe. However, while this is an important development, it's not the main focus of today's session. Important is this structure is there to help companies to create or to help structure the areas where companies can create or experience sustainable impact. The European Sustainability Reporting Standards, or ESRS, have been developed around three well-known pillars: environment, social, and governance. Let me begin by introducing the 6 capital model, which is closely connected to the structure and thinking behind the ESRS, European Sustainability Reporting Standards. As you can see in this diagram, we're looking at an organization illustrated horizontally along its value chain, starting with inputs, moving through the core business processes and leading to outputs and outcomes. And this flow, which we refer to as production is framed vertically by strategic direction first and then operational design. And the result of production feeds into reporting and budgeting. And so far, this is not very surprising. But here is where it gets interesting. When we talk about input and outcome in this model, we're not just looking at financial transactions or monetary value like in the traditional balance sheet. Instead, we recognize 6 key forms of capital that together represent the broader value of a company. And these are social and relationship capital, human capital, manufactured capital, natural capital, financial capital, and intellectual capital. And now here's an analogy I often use. Just like a person needs air to live, the goal of life isn't simply to breathe. And in the same way, money is essential for a business to operate, but it's not the purpose of the business. So when we shift our focus from financial capital alone to this broader view of value, we can start asking better questions, not just how much money do we make, but how much value do we create, preserve, or erode across all 6 capitals. It's also important to recognize that the 6 capital model aligns closely with the triple bottom line approach, which many of you may already be familiar with. In fact, it connects directly to the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So when we apply the 6 capital model, we also shift the way we look at the company's balance sheet. It's no longer just about financial performance, it's about evaluating the broader value the organization creates. That includes value for our stakeholders, but also for the organization itself, often by anticipating or responding to various impacts. And to truly assess that value, like Alina already explained, we need to conduct a double materiality assessment. And this means that together with our stakeholders, we explore 2 perspectives. One, the impact our organization has on the environment and on society, which is called impact materiality. And 2, the impact that the environmental and societal developments have on our organization, which is called financial materiality. And those issues that have the most significant effect from a value creation point of view are considered material. And those are the areas where we should focus our strategy and reporting. The 6 capital model can actually support us in identifying what we should assess as material. By looking at each capital, both as an input from the outside in and as an outcome from the inside out, we're able to spot potentially material topics, and these can be explored and evaluated together with our stakeholders. The Double Materiality Assessment, or DMA, is currently one of the key process steps in implementing the CSRD, or the Omnibus regulation. But with a strong tool to create stakeholders' empathy for any strategic purpose, a great example of this process is visualized here, and it comes from the company Move to Impact. And although I'd love to walk through the entire CSRD implementation process today, I will focus especially on the double materiality analysis, how to approach this, whom to involve, and what value it can bring. So in the process of moving from introducing the concept of materiality to communicating the result of our double materiality assessment, there are a few key steps I'd like to highlight today. First, collecting input from stakeholders, a crucial step to ensure that assessments reflects what really matters to people inside and outside your organization. Second, identifying impacts, risks, and opportunities, often referred to as IROs. These help us understand both the effect of our organization has on the world and how external developments may affect us. Then double materiality itself, when we look at sustainability from two angles, impact materiality and financial materiality. And finally, translating those insights into strategy and KPIs so that your organization can take meaningful actions and track progress effectively. As Alina already mentioned in the introduction, there are many reasons why a double materiality analysis is highly recommended for any organization. And this illustration highlights that no matter your sustainability ambitions or motives, in literature they call this sustainability maturity level, you need input from your stakeholders to truly understand which impacts are relevant for your business success. Now, your motive can exist on different levels. So some companies are driven by legal liability or the opportunity to reduce cost, but it can also be that you are responding to customer and investor expectations, or that you aim to increase your market size, or another wants to create value in multiple ways, financially, socially, and environmentally. These are often extrinsic motivators driven by external pressure and opportunities, but some organizations are intrinsically motivated. They are known as purpose-driven companies, and these businesses act from a deep commitment to values and long-term impact, and not just for compliance or profit. And depending on the level where you are, you may approach double materiality in different ways. For the sake of time, I will not further go into these different approaches, but if we have time later, we may address them. When identifying stakeholders for your sustainability strategy, think broadly. Who can truly represent the interests of your key stakeholder groups? And this includes not only employees, guests, or investors, but also what we often call the silent stakeholders, the environment, nature, and future generations. These voices may not speak, but they are deeply affected by our daily decisions. And the 6 capital model can be a useful tool for this too. And the opinions of internal and external stakeholders can be plotted in a matrix, and each quadrant identifies whether inside stakeholders agree on the extent to which issues impact the outside world. Especially when stakeholders disagree, this can lead to fruitful discussions that may lead to a better mutual understanding and perhaps adjusting the map based on new insights. And when the dots are set, the dots in the most upper right position are considered the most impact material. Like this. And sometimes the arches are mirrored to identify which dots are the closest to the most material issues. And we often begin the outside-in analysis with a SWOT analysis by confronting strengths and weaknesses with external opportunities. And yes, please. I thought somebody was calling me. By confronting strengths and weaknesses with external opportunities and threats, we can identify potential material issues. And these issues may present themselves either as a risk that needs to be managed or as an opportunity that can be leveraged in our sustainable strategy. Subsequently, these risk opportunities are assessed based on 2 dimensions, likelihood and magnitude. Likelihood is evaluated by looking at factors such as the time horizon, the extent to which the risk or opportunity can be mitigated or acted upon, and whether it falls within our own responsibility or lies elsewhere in the value chain, and whether it concerns a current situation or potential future development. And magnitude refers to the scale and the scope of the potential impact, how significant the consequences would be if the risk or opportunity materializes. And by multiplying these scores for likelihood and magnitude, we calculate a materiality score, which is visualized in the heat map. The highest scoring items in these heat maps are considered material and therefore require further attention and action. Combining inside out, so impact materiality, and outside in financial materiality can be visualized in different ways, as shown here. It's up to each organization to decide how they identify and prioritize their most material topics, depending on how they weigh impact on society and environment versus financial relevance to the business. And once we have identified the material topics, the next step is to identify key performance indicators that help us manage these issues effectively. Instead of focusing only on profit, like in a traditional balanced scorecard, we move forward to a multi-capital scorecard, one that reflects the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. And this slide brings it all together. It shows how a business model leads to a multi-value creation model based on the 6 capitals. And that in turn informs the double materiality assessment, which becomes the engine behind the company's sustainable growth strategy. And the strategy can then be managed and monitored using consistent, meaningful KPIs. And here's an important note. All these steps are fully aligned. They reinforce each other. So to wrap it up, mastering double materiality lays the foundation for true sustainable success. And that is my part of this presentation. And I like to give the floor now to Lucas, who comes from the industry.
All right. Cheers, Armand. Thank you for sharing those insights. Well, I was asked to give a point of view from our company on the practical side of things, implementing CSRD and the possible challenges companies might face. My name is Lucas van Krugten. I work for Postillion Hotels, a small hotel chain in the Netherlands, which focuses also on the MICE business. We started our CSRD journey in 2024, and we started by doing the DMA, and we found out that we had a lot of challenges to overcome, and these challenges were basically on 3 levels. So there was a lack of knowledge. We didn't really know how to execute, and we had to seek engagement from our company as well as all the stakeholders attached to the company. So to start with the knowledge, being very practically orientated as a hotelier, we started right off in 2024, and immediately we bounced into limited knowledge, both internally as externally. So because this is all relatively new laws and regulations coming up, we had quite a lot of problems with that. So my advice would be to immediately seek for the right help and expertise internally or externally. We were fortunate to have Armand on our side, who could give us some more insights on what this would mean to us. Also, there needed to be knowledge on the regulatory understanding, basically. So the ESRS data points, so the EFRAG list of ESRS data points, it's very complex. So we found out that we had to obtain some kind of implementation guide in our own language to simply to understand what it was exactly saying. And also we had to obtain the right documents to make sure that we took knowledge of those, so we could understand how the document structure works and what documents will be relevant documents in the end. And by doing so, we found out about all the mandatory reporting and reporting standards that would need to be taken into consideration. So I would say that's these are very important steps to take. Eventually, we went over to the execution, and there's challenges on 3 different levels as well. So first of all, there's the data. There was a lack of data when we were doing our DMA, and that made that some of our decisions, for instance, in the IRO analysis, as Armand just spoke about, we had to, in a way, do on gut feeling. So what do we think is the right thing to do here? We had to find out which topics are material or not, and how much impact can we make. But it's quite difficult when you don't have the data backing it up. So there's a risk of trying to tackle too much simultaneously. Also, it was very difficult setting goals up front when the material matters are not completely clear. So you have to take the steps into consideration really good. Then we found out that during our process, we needed some kind of audit trail, obviously, to be able to look back on what have we done and why did we make specific choices in our execution. So I would say it's very important to do so, and you could use appropriate software for that. The challenge there is that there's quite a lot of companies offering software, but not all of these will meet up to the expectations of the company, basically. So my advice would be to be evaluating the provider solutions really good on what they offer. So is there a financial fit, and do they understand the needs of the company and maybe of the sector you are working in? Because there's quite a lot of them out there, but they're not all working for the same sector, basically. Another problem we faced was that during our double materiality analysis and everything that would follow, the daily the daily demands, they just kept going. So we had operations going, we had considerations on procurement to be made. What contracts are we going to close? Are they already ongoing? Do we need to revise maybe these contracts? The same goes for the investments, because the consideration, everything you take into consideration suddenly isn't that clear anymore, because everything changes and other things become more important than they were before. So some of these might need re-evaluation. And at one point we said, okay, so definitely we have to weigh the options, but we should not get carried away right away in stopping everything because we are executing this right now. So my advice would be to keep going with the company as well. Another challenge we faced was the engagement. So stakeholder alignment and implementation oversight that we needed. And for the stakeholder alignment, I found that it was very important to take the time to explain to people in very clear and easy terms what CSRD does, what it regulates, and why we are doing what we are doing. Especially because I noticed that a lot of people are very happy of maintaining the status quo of one expert in the organization, which fortunately would be me in that case, due to the complexity of it all. And I also found a challenge in engaging all senior management within our company. And I've tried to tackle this by guiding them through the CSRD advantages. And then I saw the engagement grow, and at one point they were all on board. But it's really important that they are from the beginning on. So I found this out as we were going, but it would be better for me to have started this right away, all the way at the beginning, just to make sure that they understood what was going on exactly. So I would say make an effort in keeping all the people engaged despite the complexity of the CSRD. Tune in on what their needs are and see what CSRD can mean for them, and communicate on those needs, especially to get them on board and to get them engaged as well. Also, it helped me to recognize existing efforts that were not previously communicated or noticed, but are all of a sudden important. It gives them an idea on, okay, so this is how it works. So the communication was key for me, and I found that people need transparent communication on what do we do, why do we do it, and what's in it for them and for the company in the long term as well. Then the implementation oversight is really important on that as well, because you need to communicate on that as well. People need to know what to expect and why certain steps are taken. So you always have to be aware of what's going on in the project, at what point are we at this moment, and what is going to follow next. And a very important thing as well is monitoring colleagues, especially the commercial colleagues. They have they tend to want to communicate about everything, but there's always the risk of greenwashing or data that might not be completely right. So I would be a bit careful with that as well, to make sure that nobody's doing things that can harm the CSRD. How do you say it? Inspanningen. Everything you're doing for your DMA and CSRD. So in the end, to close off, because I had a short period of time, there's many obstacles in the beginning to imagine, but my takeaway was it's better to start off than to wait, and it's better to make choices based on gut feeling, because data is missing. So gut feeling and rough estimates is always better than not starting at all, as long as you communicate transparently and explain why certain choices have been made. And for me, the benefit so far, it has revealed that we can make many efficiency improvements in our company. It has revealed major differences between our properties, where they don't differ in the branch or the market they serve. And a lot of these differences are differences we were not fully aware of in the first place. And we also found out that we need to put more time into policies and their associated KPIs, and we have to clarify to our people on how and why we monitor these KPIs as well, also for the engagement as well, but also for the policies in place to work, obviously. And we need to put more effort in making people aware of those. And you will find a lot of things in your company that need or could use improvement. But I think it's more important to highlight that if you look at your organization very closely, that well, actually you're doing much more than you thought, and you're probably just not communicating about it at this moment. So for us, it has been a very fruitful journey so far. And I think that's what concludes my my contribution here.
Excellent. Thank you, Lucas, and thank you to the rest of our speakers. I'm sure many in the audience share those concerns that you've highlighted, those challenges that you've been facing in addressing the regulatory requirements. And so today we obviously want to try and help those listening in to address the challenges that they're facing. And already we've had a number of people highlighting questions in the Q&A. The first one I think is probably, I'll turn to Lucas to see if you're able to answer this. How many extra work time or full-time equivalents would you say does the double materiality cost a firm if they are already measuring their carbon footprint? You able to give an indication there for Phil?
Yeah, I can. Correct me if I'm wrong, Armand, but the carbon footprint, whether you're measuring that or not, is not related to the double materiality analysis as such. This is something that will follow due to the material topics that will come out of the double materiality analysis. But for us, we took 5 employees, and we had, I believe, about 4 sessions altogether to complete our double materiality analysis. So yeah, it would take approximately what can I say, 120 hours or so. Armand?
Yes, I can add to that. As I also already indicated in my own presentation, it also depends on how you want to address this. What we did by Postillion, knowing that they wanted to move forward, they were very practical in their approach. We did a lot of this data-driven. So what we did was collect. We scraped the internet for all the sustainable annual reports that we could find worldwide from the biggest 125 chain hotels, and based on that we created comp sets. If you do that, you get already a kind of prepared overview of what this comp set identified to be material. And then you have a quick start. You don't have to come up with every item yourself. You go through the list and assess it in a way like, do we recognize this? Do we miss things, or do we see here things that are just not applicable to us? That's a much quicker process, and that's the reason why at Postillion we could do this in 4 sessions of half a day with 6 people involved. If we would not do this data driven, or if we would like to add additional surveys or interviews with real stakeholders to that would of course be more informative. It would be more to the point. The question is whether in this phase that additional time investment would lead to other material topics, because especially when you start, some material topics are just very obvious, and then this data-driven approach can be sufficient. So that is why I dare to say that this double materiality analysis with this very limited amount of hours, because this is a limited amount of hours that Lucas indicates, is good enough. I also hear from companies that have processes that take for 9 months, and then you really have a lot of FTEs that have to be involved for multiple hours a week. And yeah, we can start calculating on that, but that's much more than the 120 hours that Lucas indicates.
Yeah. And to add to that, everything that follows from the double materiality analysis obviously would take, well, I would say at least 1 FTE.
Yeah, to take the next steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you both very much. Another question, in engaging stakeholder groups, is there a best practice in surveying them? So is it preparing a select list of issues which they must choose in terms of most important, or keeping it open-ended? Who would like to take that one?
I don't know whether I understand the question right.
I can take that question. I have.
Okay.
So basically, how you have to engage with your stakeholders. There are, so you have a step-by-step process for double materiality assessment, and each step takes you to a narrowed list of material topics from the very broad one. Each step really narrows it down and throws away the topics that you that are not most likely valuable to you. And there are two parts where you engage with your stakeholders. Initially, you send a survey to them, asking them questions in terms of what are they interested in? What are they interested in terms of seeing you as a company engage in, you as a company creating impact positive to, what they would like you to see less of. So you are the one as a company making those questions and then sending them to stakeholders. Then once you receive the answers, you put these answers into the steps in between. And then the last part where you engage your stakeholders is the voting part on the shortlisted topic list. So they can already pre-vote. They can, for example, put from 1 to 5 the importance of, in their opinion, of this material topic being addressed by your company. So it's really a step-by-step process in which twice you engage with your stakeholders, and in which you, by going through them, you lower the amount of topics on that list. Does that answer the question? Yeah. I hope it does.
Yeah, I can add to that. Where Alina indicates, like you start with a survey. You can also start with this kind of a benchmark. So if you have a data-driven approach where you can already indicate like what the industry has already identified as material, and you put that beside the standards of the ESRS, then you can, based on that, create this survey. The steps that Alina describes are also all of a quantitative nature, like finding out in an almost democratic way what stakeholders prefer you to address. But in order to enrich this and really understand why the people want this, you can extend this approach with either workshops with the stakeholders or interviews with the stakeholders, because with understanding why they want that, it can also give you inspiration, like then what can we actually do to address this in a way that the stakeholders will be satisfied by our approach. So that might be an extra add-on. And also this really depends on your level of stakeholder empathy that you want to go for.
Thank you. Another question then from Nikki is, do you have a case history of the approach in a destination or hotel group?
Well, I think we have described Lucas's case in case of Postillion, right? Is that something else that the questioner is about?
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe then expanding that further, where a hotel group has multiple hotels that vary in sizes across different regions, how do they ensure consistency and comparability of the results of double materiality?
I think this is especially an important question for chain hotels with locations in very different countries, very different types of locations, where this is the case that you maybe like to determine material aspects for the corporate organization, where this is very difficult to defer this to locations. In Lucas's situation in the Netherlands, he already indicates that these locations and very similar. There are some deviating locations, but the majority is in a similar location, and still they seem to have different KPIs or work in a different way. And this is where communication comes in and where transparency comes in. It is, of course, allowed to adjust this materiality analysis to the different situations, as long as you can explain why you do it in that way, and as long as it makes sense. I would certainly recommend to deviate among locations and see how that all adds up to the total value creation or positive impact of the corporate structure.
Thank you, Armand. Thank you. Okay, so we've got a few further questions. I think these will be the last few as we're coming close to time. And we have one from Sarah Nordmark. Should we assess gross impact risk opportunities or net impact risk opportunities? Who is able to answer this one?
I would say assess the net risk opportunities, because it is a double materiality. So you do look at both the environmental and social, and you try to link it to the financial performance. So the net will give you just a more detailed overview of what really happens. Armand, would you agree, or would you think differently?
I was wondering whether it would make a difference, but I agree with what you say. I was thinking about gross and net. Is this about the subtracting the good that we do minus the wrong that we do, like the net zero or the net positive approach, or is this about the currency value, so the financial value of impact, or the effect risk or opportunities have on us? Because if you can quantify them in a financial way, it's of course easier to communicate about that. And then I think that especially those stakeholders that are interested in financial implications of choices prefer the net outcomes. So I think net is always better.
Fantastic. And a follow-up question to that from Sarah was, how often, according to the regulations, do you need to update the double materiality assessment in line with CSRD?
There is no rule for that. So if you feel that the situation is stable for some years and nothing really changes, then there is not really a need to reassess the double materiality analysis, unless all your objectives have been reached and you feel that there is room for new impact in new fields, and then you do that. So in general, what I hear is that it's quite common to say we do it every 3 years, but that's not a rule. It's more a rule of thumb.
Right, and I'm just checking if we've got any final questions in the Q&A or chat. We have one from Lamia, but I think we may have addressed that already in terms of what's most efficient to conduct and identify risks on sustainability and then share them with stakeholders for discussion and validation. So yeah, I think it's an order question. So most consultants seem to conduct a double materiality assessment first with external stakeholders, and then end up with the least material issues for the company. Any further points you would like to flag on this question in the Q&A? But I think we addressed it in one of the first earlier questions.
Yeah, I think that it's if you do your double materiality analysis, then that's a good basis to do your IRO, because the IRO is something that you really want to report on. Let me see. What's the rest of the question? Most consultants would conduct double materiality assessment first with external stakeholders and end up with the least material issues for the company. I don't recognize that that way of working. I think the company is also a stakeholder, so I would not do that in different steps.
Okay, thank you. And one final question I see has just come through, and then we will close the questions. And that is, how much of the assessment can be digitalized?
A lot can be. The thing is that you have to describe what you do. And what I indicated with my slides with the mountain, you can approach this from different levels, and like at Postillion, we digitalized a lot in the double materiality approach, because we use great data and use filters to come to a concept, and then we just had to validate that concept with a limited team of different types of people from the hotel. But digitalization is also in the rest of the process, and that is also something that Lucas has experienced. After the double materiality analysis, after you know what is material, then you have to go through all these EFRAG standards and that audit trail, and all these decisions that you make, and all these documents that you want to upload as proof. That is something that I would really recommend, and that's also something that Lucas said in his reflection. I would really recommend everybody to start with a tool that supports this, because if you do this in the standards Excel sheets where you can just check boxes and then still have to refer to documents that are somewhere in a network, that is very hard to sustain as well, especially from a version management system. You don't know where is the one point of truth then anymore. So digitalization there is also already supported by many suppliers, from whom one is currently present in this webinar. There are tools available that we can strongly recommend if you want to go in this double materiality journey.
I would almost say it's impossible not to do it, because you will definitely get lost. It's too much. It's over 2,000 data points.
Wow. Well, thank you. On that note, hopefully we've answered everyone's questions today. I haven't seen any more come through into the chat. So I'd like to thank all of our speakers, Alina, Lucas, and Armand, for their fantastic expertise. And I would also just like to highlight to everyone that we do have a further webinar that will be coming on the 30th of April, which will be focused on data collection demystified, so streamlining sustainability data gathering. But thank you all so much for your time today, and thank you again to our speakers. It's been fascinating.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.